Season 2 of the 3-Rule Parenting Podcast, where we have conversations about grace and how to better disciple our own kids. I'm lead pastor Melissa, and I am the mom, a single mom, to a very much 2-year-old toddler.
I'm Reverend Bill Malden, and I am an associate pastor here at the church, and I work with families, so I work with students and children and their families. Oh, and I have 2 high school kids. I have a senior and a junior.
And I'm Reverend Kevin Anderson. I work within the community as a pastor of community, and I have 2 kids, a son who's in high school and a daughter who is in junior high.
Yeah, and welcome back to Season 2.
We're back.
We're back. If we had like a screen, we've upgraded like our setting. Like, I know a lot of people just listen to us, but like we're all like cozy and like chairs.
You really have to watch it to get the full effect.
Yeah, but maybe like the...
But not while you're driving. Don't watch it while you're driving.
I've been told I have a face for radio, so you may just want to listen.
But it's like, the like place marker of like this episode is just intro. Real exciting. But essentially, like, we're back for Season 2, and we're kind of flipping the script. Like, Season 1 was all kind of like heavy parenting, right? Like, parenting theories, and taking those theories, and then after laying out all these parenting theories, bringing it into like our discipling and theology. And this season, we're flipping that on its head. So we're going to our theology first. How do we understand God? How do we understand how we interact in our churches and our discipleship, and then bringing that into our parenting and seeing how that impacts things. So I'm just kind of curious with the 2 of y'all, how do you think that's going to change our conversation? Because essentially, we're actually just following the same script we had last season, but we're just inverting the way we have the conversation.
We're flipping the orders of the rules, really.
Yeah.
So I think last time we really led with the do no harm and do good as our start. And then we talked about why we felt God wants that from us. This time we're starting with who is God, what is the nature of salvation, and starting with the theology, and then from that saying what good can we do from this, and how can this teach us to do less harm. Again, we talked about that last season. Do no harm is a little bit too big of a goal, I think. I think we should shoot for, let's do less harm. And so, but it's let's start with our relationship with God first and foremost, and then say, how does that relationship then enable us to do no harm and to do good?
I think for me, the biggest difference, just looking at these topics and kind of mapping some of them out, so we'll each pick some that we're going to, lead the discussion. What I really like about this format for Season 2 is, let's just be honest, God is more important than us, than we are when we're in and so starting with an understanding of God or Jesus, whatever we're talking about, and looking at it from that perspective, I think filters down to how we act and how we parent and the things that we do, and gives us a better focus to stay focused on God as opposed to focused on ourselves.
Well, and I agree with you, and that's where I think the way we're doing it this season, for me, I think is actually a stronger discipleship tool. Because if you look at how we're going to lay things out this season, it kind of follows a progression of systematic theology. It'll kind of, one thing will lead to the other.
I was about to say, most people are going to go, huh?
Yeah, what does that mean, Bill?
Yeah, what does that mean, Bill?
So, for those of us who have had to go to seminary, but those of us who went to seminary.
I wanted to go to seminary.
We got to go to seminary.
I kind of had to go.
We chose.
One of the last classes you're going to take, one of the capstone courses you're going to take, is kind of this approach to theology to make sure that, basically systematic theology is making sure that all the different things you believe, and this is true for a lot of us, I think, until you take a systematic theology class, your beliefs are all over the place. And you have all these things, but there's not a consistent thought or understanding or why through it that ties it all together.
A through line.
And so systematic theology made you go, okay, you believe this, but that doesn't work with this other belief you had, and you had to figure out one or the other had to move. or you had to negotiate, and to come up with a consistent logic, reason, understanding, principle, however you want to talk about it, so that it all worked as one system. The reality is most of us, if you haven't done that kind of work, which few have, most of us as Christians, at least I did until I took systematic theology, my beliefs were all over the place. Yeah. I believe things that didn't work well, which is one of the reasons that I think a lot of people struggle in their faith, is because their beliefs are all over the place. They don't have this simple understanding through it all that unites it into one unified belief. And so that's one of the reasons we're offering this. So for even those of you, and I know we have several that listen to this who don't have children, who were tuning in for the discipleship theology part, this season is going to be a little heavier in that. Hopefully we're still strengthening you as a family and as parents, but also I think this is more universal for everybody. We can just bring out topics that might strengthen you just as disciples with this little bit of I would call it just an intro to systematic theology.
Yeah, and I want to kind of like follow up on that for the parent that's listening. What's the benefit? Like, why listen to season 2?
Or are you asking, or was that a rhetorical question?
No, I'm asking us, but I guess like I can hop in and ask or answer, play along.
What's yours? Yeah.
Yeah, I want us to listen. I'm excited for season 2 because I know how powerfully, I know that that's like technically a word, but now it sounds weird as I'm saying it out loud, how much my own parenting is impacted by how deep my theology goes, that like it's no longer a head thing, right? Like, I know we're getting heady in this season. However, my hope is that the way that we talk about it, it moves into the heart, that it just becomes natural and second nature. And those are the moments that strike me with my daughter, that it's like, oh, like, and also like inadvertently, that there's so many moments where I see her reflect God back to me. Yeah. And that's the really beautiful thing, that like I love when I get to see God reflected back to me that I might have missed otherwise. And so, yes, like having this beautiful through line in my own theology and having spent this time because I wanted to go to seminary.
I chose.
Yeah, right.
I know. I was called to go to seminary, Bill.
I believe I was called into ministry, and so I had to go to seminary. I did not feel called to go to seminary.
We'll parse that out later.
So for those who have been called to listen to this podcast season, right? Like, my hope for you this season is that you as parents might allow that these discussions on theology to be something that you get to wrestle with and bring down into the day-to-day of your parenting, to wrestle with it and some thought, but then allow it to kind of be background noise.
So that's actually my hope, to piggyback off of what you're saying as a parent. I know a lot of parents come and there's this insecurity when their kids start asking these deep questions. Yeah. Why this? And they're like, I don't have a good answer. Yeah. And there's this insecurity in your answering that. But hopefully this podcast, as we go through this season, you'll have embraced some of these ideas, wrestled with some of these questions, and now you will have some little bit of an answer to go, well, here's what I think. And have some confidence that you're not just out of the blue, out of nowhere, that you've gone through this journey with us, and that you've walked kind of this theological map, that you've hit all the high topics, that your ideas kind of make sense, you kind of know what you're talking about, at least enough to talk and guide your own children. That's always my goal is in family ministries. I think one of the highest things we can do is equip parents to be the principal teachers of the faith. Absolutely. With their own children. Yeah. And so that's one of the things I'm so glad about what we're doing with this season is with the theology, we're going to tie it into parenting and all of that, but also just as a parent giving you the tools to say, I have a basic gist of my understanding of theology, that I don't feel scared of the subject.
And I want to even just like point out our tagline even says like, how to better disciple our own kids. Like,
right,
we're
exactly.
on this
that
journey
includes
with
us.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like,
Yeah.
we are on the journey with you as parents.
So Bill and I were talking yesterday, well,
Roughly.
from when we recorded this. But then
We're coming to you live from when we recorded this.
Live from the
So if
past.
we mess up, there's no editing. But Bill and I were talking about this. I listened to a podcast, a Christian musician, and he was talking about this idea that we as parents or as Christians have failed to a certain extent in how we talk to the younger generation or even our own children about, hey, they know we believe in Jesus, but
what?
How often or how many conversations have you had with them about it? And when I heard that, it kind of made me cringe a little bit and being vulnerable. I'm like, have I done it enough? I'm a pastor, and we see this. The kids hear me. My own kids hear me preach or see me working on Bible study. But do I talk to them about Jesus enough or my faith enough? Does it trickle down enough to them? And I'm like, that's something I need to be better at. And so I think my hope in this is that it helps all of us to be able to do that, myself included.
And I also want to say, like, in all of this, if your kids ever come to you with a question about faith that you don't know the answer to, you can always tell your kid, I don't know. But then the powerful follow-up to that is, but let's learn it together.
Let's go on the journey.
Let's go on the journey together. And I think that's the maybe best invitation to the beginning of this season. And so to kind of round out...
Take the journey.
Yeah, take the journey. And so to round out this first episode back to season 2, I just want to hear a quick story of what's something that has made you laugh as a parent recently?
Ooh, I told you this earlier.
Okay.
I love this.
So
Yeah.
this week, Kathy wasn't feeling well, and so Courtney and I, my junior high daughter, were making her dinner, and I'd never heard it. It's chia seeds, and it was in a container, about 7 inches tall for those of you who are listening to this. And I thought,
a wonderful pet.
Yeah, they do, and that was the joke I made. Nobody thought it was funny in my family.
I disagree with your family. I think it's a great joke.
I did too. I was like, man, that fell flat. But I took it out of the pantry, and Courtney was helping me make dinner, and so I tossed it to her. Because it's funny, and she didn't catch it, and it hit the floor, and half the chia seeds went all over the kitchen floor. And I just looked sheepishly at Courtney, and I was like, "Oops!" And so I went and told Kathy, thinking, "Oh, she'll think this is funny." And she says, "Do you know how much those are?" And I was like, "Nope." But Courtney and I, we had a great laugh out of it. We just thought it was funny. And then I was like, "Courtney, I'm going to need you to get the vacuum cleaner and clean this up." And she goes, "Nope, that's you." And
That's all you, big dog.
I was like, "All right, you finish dinner, and I will vacuum up the kitchen floor."
The $20 of chia seeds?
Yeah, but
$10.
$10 of chia seeds.
I only spilled half of it, so it was $10.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a funny moment. But it's those moments that it's funny. It was stupid on my part, but those are the moments that I think our children remember. It's those just random. Her and I were doing something together.
A weeknight.
And then I totally messed it up.
Love it.
So that's my story.
Yeah, in the moment I'm struggling to come up with one little incident. The thing we have just in general been laughing about a lot, my wife and I, is just the different bits of our kids that are which one of our personalities, and the interesting combination of within each child, they took this from me and that from her, and just stuff that will come up. I have my lifelong tendency to need the last word. My daughter has that in spades as well. And so my wife is always like, we'll start even just playfully going back, but neither one of us is going to let the other one win. And she's like, and she just wants to be a part of it. And it's when you finally have to deal with you. I'm having to deal with this obnoxious piece of my own personality, and now I have to deal with it, and it's all my fault. Either genetically, nature or nurture, either way, she got it from me.
Both.
Yeah, either way, it's mine. And so it's kind of the fun thing of like, well, hope you enjoyed it, because that's what everybody else gets to deal with.
Yeah.
I'm potty training right now.
Nice.
Yep. And we recently, the other day, had, I'm doing this like thing that, you do with potty training these days where it's like, you're teaching them the sensation. So you let the child run around with nothing on their bottom half. So
Winnie the Pooh style.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You Winnie the Pooh them.
Donald Duck.
Yeah,
Okay.
Donald Duck them. So that way, like the moment they start to like, they're gonna feel it, and so you also hang out with their little potty in the same room that they're in. So that way, even if they only get a little bit in the potty, they still get a little bit in there, and they start to like, you Pavlov them, right?
I kind of like where this is going, I think.
Well, like she'd been doing really well with this, but
False sense of security.
I know, because things are going well. It's the afternoon, and I did not notice that she's no longer playing in the living room, and I made the mistake of opening my laptop up to try and get a little work done. And all of a sudden I noticed that there's a noise coming from my bedroom. And so typically she yells this if she needs to just go pee, not just poop. But I just hear this loud poop from my bedroom. And I go to my bedroom, and sure enough, there was a large turd on the floor.
Never thought you were going to hear that in the podcast, did you?
Not only was there that, she had so startled herself, she had decided that the best thing to do was climb up on my white comforter, and also my heavy winter jacket was also on my comforter, but somehow she magically missed the comforter altogether, but did manage to get it on my jacket.
The only thing that could have made it better was the Roomba come right behind you.
Oh, yeah.
You're just talking about the Roombas.
The Roomba tracking it everywhere.
And it was just
The
one of
Roomba,
those things
the only thing that can make it better is the Roomba just come in the room right then.
All you can do in those moments as a parent is just laugh and, got her
That'll be a
cleaned
good
up
story
in
at the
the
wedding
shower.
one day.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
many questions.
There's also going to be a day that she's going to be like, you put this on a podcast,
Yes.
Mother? Yep, exactly.
Sorry, Alice.
Oh, sorry.
I would have stopped her if I knew that's where it's going.
Hey, my wife just before this, when I was talking to her on the phone, says, "Don't embarrass our family." But if you do embarrass our family, make sure that
kids.
you get a lot of laughs out of it.
Yeah,
It's
there
like,
you go.
If
Make
you're
it
gonna
worth
do
it.
if you're gonna do it, go for broke.
There you go.
So my invitation to you as a parent this week as we close out episode 1 is just that. Can you just take a moment today, perhaps even right now as you finish listening to this episode, to think of a moment or your kid made you laugh? And with that, would you receive this blessing, the blessing of this podcast? Would you go out to do no harm, to do good, and to stay in love with God? And we'll see you next week on the 3-Rule Parenting Podcast. I got it. See you later. Bye. Let's be honest, I can be louder.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Don't be diminishing. Yeah.
Quiet little.
So are we filming one and then
My
checking
face.
it?
My face.